Welcome to Beyond the Basement, the complete Attack on Titan podcast. In this show, we're not just rewatching, we're going behind the scenes, deep into the anime story, unearthing intrigue, and exploring new theories about the Attack on Titan universe. The majority of each episode is spoiler-free. Then, after a warning, we'll take a few minutes to connect the dots with storylines from future episodes. You can find us wherever you listen to podcasts, but don't forget, you can join us for the live broadcast Sunday nights on Facebook and watch every episode on YouTube. Links will be in the show notes. With that, let's get into the conversation.
Every time, what is my problem?
Don't spill your water on your manga. Just so everybody knows, the first thing we have to introduce is this. Look at this. This you would think to yourself.
It is the Colossal Edition.
Like I thought to myself, this is the complete series.
No.
This is the Bible. Like that's literally the size of a Bible. Season one,
it's
right?
season one.
This is just the first.
Notice the one on the side.
Yeah.
This indicates which I thought just meant like the unity of the story. You know, the oneness.
We are one.
Uh-huh.
But the thing that Hajime Isayama, developed this specific book for was if ever Titans break out in real life,
You just
can
hit
kill
them
them.
with it.
You can kill them with this
Yeah.
book.
Mhm.
So
You
we're
can
good.
actually cut the nape of a neck with this tool. Okay, well, welcome back to everybody to Beyond the Basement, the complete non-official Attack on Titan podcast. We are taking a deep dive. This is another one of those episodes where it's kind of very informational, but there's some action. We've already gotten a lot of action in the last several episodes. Okay,
It's
so you gotta
almost
have a little.
filler. It's like the closest this show gets to.
The version of we said this before. The version of filler episodes in this show are actually
information dumps.
They
information
actually
dumps.
help
Yeah,
you
they are
out.
connecting the dots, so you're not so confused. And they're very honestly, I find these very satisfying. I'm somebody who likes to watch like detective or like thinker kind of movies and stories and stuff like that. Where you have to like solve and figure stuff out on your way through it. So I live for these kind of episodes. That's what this one is.
This one I feel like is, for the majority of the story, they've been drawing the main characters. Right now they're filling in the background a little bit.
Yes,
Which is awesome because most filler episodes in most anime are like, we got to write a holiday episode before 12
Goofy
p.m.
side quest.
What if they all went
Let's
to the
all
beach?
go to the beach
Yeah.
and be embarrassed about our bathing suits. And it's just, okay, whatever.
Perfect. This one's like, let's learn a bunch about the Titans and where they came from and possibly the scouts and about Hange. And
So this episode is going to be a lot of like, well, it's going to have a good spoiler section because a lot of her conjectures that get made in this episode end up being
Spot on.
stuff that's true. I mean, you could guess that that's stuff that's true, but it's interesting how it actually plays out. So anyway, let me do a quick recap. All right, so this one starts off, we're headed to a castle, and we find out this is like an abandoned castle. It was built too far away from like the walls and from the city or something like that. So starts out, and they're taking Eren there because it's like the one safe place they can keep him. He's probably safe. He's safe from Titans and so on, right? There's a place they can like do training and whatever, but it's also safe because they can like keep him in the basement.
They're away
there
from civilization.
in case he himself turns out to be trouble. It's also safe in that like it's, there's not humans, there's not like prying eyes and stuff like that, so they can kind of do stuff.
The first time through, I got super confused and thought that they had gone outside the walls to a castle.
It looked like I actually thought that same thing. It looks like it.
That's not what they did.
It's just very rural.
They're just way out in the sticks.
Yep.
So we meet a few characters. Eren kind of meets some of the special ops scouts, and ends up going into this castle. This is Levi's squad. So Levi's this is like his first few days as a scout officially now, right? That he's in their custody. He, whatever they have him as a fresh recruit. Like, okay, it's time to clean this place up. It's like an old dusty castle. Like, time to clean this place up. So in this, cleaning little castle montage, we find out a couple of things. We cut to Erwin really quick, and then back to the castle, and we find out that they're planning this expedition that they talked about that Erwin pitched in the courtroom. They're planning this expedition within 30 days. So this is really quick. And there's also going to be rookies going out on this mission. So they talk a little bit about that. And then we spend a bunch of this episode. We've already met Hange, but we spend a bunch of this episode kind of getting more acquainted with her. And she does a big information dump, big reveal in this like marathon overnight conversation with Eren, where she talks about the two Titans that they've captured and the stuff that they found out about them, about how they work, how much they weigh, weird stuff like that. But really pretty much every detail she mentions is relevant. And then Hange is a character. becomes very relevant because we're
Mm-hmm.
going to see a lot of her. She's very interesting. She's very quirky. Eren kind of notes that. It's like, oh yeah, this is this strange kind of oddball group. And then at the end of the episode, after all this like hype about these two Titans that they've captured and they're learning all this stuff from them, those two Titans turn up dead same night. And whoever did it, used ODM gear to get away. And so that's where they cut the episode.
Weren't no Titan that hopped over the walls and
Yeah.
murdered these guys.
Yeah, weren't no other little sneaky ninja Titan. So, all right, so let's start here at the beginning. They're on their way to the castle. What's the dude that's talking to Eren? He's kind of scaring the crap out of him.
Eld, I think.
So this is so interesting to me. I feel
The
like
one
this is
who
like
bites his.
yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like this is like a Japanese. There's like some anime thing here that I don't understand, where he's telling Eren, he's trying to like scare him a little bit, and he's like, "Yeah, you're a rookie, and like I don't know, but your Titan power, blah blah." And like while he's in the middle of this,
It's like he's trying to haze him, but he kind of sucks at it.
yeah,
little
he's
bit.
like on a horse, and he like bites his tongue in this really dramatic fashion. There's like blood spraying from
squirts
like,
from his face like a
Definitely an anime
fountain.
thing, yeah.
I don't.
Sometimes you gotta just shoot blood
Out of your
random
mouth.
orifices
But I
depending
also
upon
feel
what's
like
happening.
I'm missing the statement they're trying to make there. Is it that they're trying to make like pride comes before a fall?
They're trying to make this guy look out like he's just some bad A dude. Like, I've killed a bunch of Titans. You better watch yourself. And he's a complete idiot.
Yeah.
And so even though he actually has killed Titans, the fact that he's trying to be awesome and he's a complete idiot, and then instead of being like, "Ah, man, I suck," he's like, "I totally meant to do that because cool guys always mean to do that."
Yeah.
And then Petra's like,
It's like he.
"Are you trying to be like Commander Levi?"
Yeah, that's the most
Because-
embarrassing thing she could
Captain
say to
Levi,
him.
If you are, please knock it off. You're actually nothing like
Yeah,
him.
you're nothing like him.
I
You're
feel
horrible
like
at
they're
this.
almost trying to show us that these guys, even though they're like seasoned warriors, are still kids.
They're
Like
still
they're
humans.
still young,
Yeah.
immature. He's a young, immature man. Like he's probably not as old as he looks.
Yeah. And he's definitely
He
full of
doesn't
himself.
act like he acts like he's 19 or 20,
Yeah.
which
and he's like too big for his britches a little bit, and he's actually still just a dork kid.
yeah, yeah. But this does lead to one of my favorite parts is that Eren internally is announcing the KDR for each of the scouts.
Yeah.
He's like, oh,
It's
you
got
know,
stats.
14
Oh, yeah,
kills
yeah.
and 39 assists, and like he like knows the like stats.
He
for all these,
introduces
like,
all
the
their
squad.
names to us and their kills and all that stuff.
It's interesting because it's like we
It's
got
like a
the
video
intro.
game for a second.
Yeah,
Of it.
exactly. You're getting their
For like
stats.
a
Gotta know your
sporting
stats,
event,
bro.
or
That's super important. Getting their handle and stuff. Gamer tag. Anyway,
I think it's cool in this moment where they're talking about how they're going to this old fort that nobody uses anymore because it was kind of impractical when it was built, and it was
Mhm.
built way far away. Like scouts couldn't use it because it's way far away from
from the wall.
Any-
anywhere
walls,
they're
and
gonna go.
their job is to go beyond the wall. So they need to have like kind of a forward base of operation, which I think we see as being built. As Erwin is talking
Mhm.
about stuff, looks like people are building a
Mhm.
new one or rebuilding.
Yeah.
So he's obviously way closer. So they built this old base way back in the day, and it just says, and he says, "Yeah, back when we all had high hopes back then."
Yeah.
It's like, whoa, man, talking about like the old glory days.
The
when
old glory
everybody
days,
had
and they were
hope
building
and they were
castles.
building castles. They had so much hope, and it just like it kind of takes you back to like, I don't know. It kind of almost reminds me of like the early like 1900s, where like we could do anything, you know, and
Industrial Revolution
stuff-
stuff. Yeah.
wasn't
And then
so
2
settled
World
and
Wars
wasn't so
punched everybody's
depressive.
face.
Yeah, and
Mhm.
depression and plagues and whatnot. Yeah.
Spanish
So-
flu.
It definitely is interesting. Like, okay, why did they build this castle way back here? Was it for a specific purpose? How old is this castle? Is it beyond the 100 years? Do we know?
This question I asked. You will continue to ask this question throughout the series, but I ask this a lot, which is how old is all this crap, and why is there so little information from before? What is it? 107 years before this. How is that? And nobody seems curious about it even.
Yeah.
So this episode, we'll get into this in a second, but this episode starts to answer one of my other burning questions at this point in the series, which was like, why are they not just doing the scientific method? Essentially, why are they not
Testing
studying?
everything.
Yeah,
and,
like
yeah.
like they've tested like stuff in combat, which makes sense. They've like improved their way of like
Yeah, they're
fighting
from
them somewhat.
cannons and yeah.
But it seems like, okay, well, these people have clearly developed some technology,
Mhm.
the ODM gear and things like that. They have firearms, they have all this stuff, they have cannons, they have, the ships that sail on the water. It seems like they have some technical ability. I'm like, why would this is a, kind of not enlightenment. Renaissance. I was going to say this is like a post-Renaissance type of culture, right, where they're kind of rediscovering like engineering and technology and stuff like that. I would feel like they would be wanting, like they would use that curiosity, use that to be like, okay, we need to figure out more about the Titans, because are they a weapon? Are they an animal? Like, what the heck? And so this episode starts to at least get into that.
Seems like they'd be dissecting them more.
But remember that everything is based on necessity. When you're under assault, you don't have you don't have the luxury of dreaming and hoping and thinking about stuff.
But they had 100 years of safety, is what I'm saying.
They did have 100 years of safety. That's true. But at the same time, they're also constantly being harassed by Titans on the outside of the walls. Yeah. So you're right. Maybe there should have been more.
Kind of seems like the scouts are the only ones willing to go out. And they were just getting massacred.
And they just get killed.
And that's what Eren was berating
for 100 years.
Eren's berating the whole world for being, foolish and sleepy and not like caring about the outside world and just like living your dumb, life inside your prison.
Like a bird in a cage. Yeah.
Yeah.
Despite all my rage, I'm still just a human in a Titan cage. Or something.
So Eren's going through all these people. Petra, Eld, this guy, they all have this many kills, this many support. And all these people, he says, are handpicked specifically by Levi. And all these people
they're the baddest of the bad.
Are the baddest of the bad. And they're there to kill Eren had he stepped out of line, if he gets in trouble, or turns into a Titan at all.
So the look that Eren gives to Levi is at one point, they're just like walking along, it's like really early, and he looks back at Levi. I was like, like this guy's gonna take me out.
He beat my face in.
And he actually questions like, what if I lose control here? That Eren questioning himself is like, what would the show be without Eren having inner dialogue, like questioning, oh, what am I? What about this? Huh? Yeah. Like that's like his thing. Anyway, so all right, so we get everyone's KDR. Levi kind of busts in and is like, all right. Well, hello there, everyone. It's time to get cleaning. This place is dusty.
Levi turns into a pilgrim woman.
Yeah, the first thing this insane captain who's just a Titan murdering machine does is like, everybody start cleaning, and gets like his... He
puts a headscarf on and
like imagine like you're on the 95 Bulls team. What was your 90? What year did they win? 70 games or some crazy thing.
97, 98 was kind of the
Imagine you're on the 96 Bulls and Michael Jordan's like, okay, it's time to clean your locker. Here's a toothbrush. And you're like, wait, what? This isn't playing basketball. What?
Imagine you're with General Patton and he's like, the first thing we're going to do is clean those toilets because this thing's got to be clean.
And he rolls up his sleeves and starts doing it with you.
Yeah, exactly. Apparently he's a clean freak. Anyway, shows you a little bit of, like, there's just so many interesting things about it because this Levi squad, they're elite soldiers. And they're all a little bit quirky. Again, Eren kind of notes this. They're all
weirdos.
What does he say? This is the
oddballs.
Oddball. It's like a collection or haven for oddballs and weirdos or whatever. Like he thinks that when he's talking like
all the scouts are slightly mad.
Yeah, they're all like a little bit, and it definitely very well like it describes them. You get a feel for what the scouts are like, what kind of people, what this like squad is actually like, which I just think is so. I think it's interesting, and there's so many things in the show I feel like relate to real life in weird ways. This is one of them, which is that when you have sort of a radical like cause or like when you need people who are at the best at something, you usually end up with people who are imbalanced in a way that makes them oddballs. And so the reason what I'm thinking of is stuff like musicians. Like if you ever watch, a documentary on like, I mean, name a band. Like there are very few artists, musicians, whatever, people who are like the top of their field, all the way from, Mozart to current, who are not like they're weird usually. They're strange. They're kind of like oddballs. It's like a very strange collection. And
what's the term?
Eclectic? Yeah.
Eccentric.
That's what I was looking for. What does eclectic mean?
That's a collection of random things.
Yeah, eclectic would be like from all over. Things
from everywhere.
Lots of everything.
They're an eccentric, eclectic group of
warriors. Yeah.
So anyway, I just think it's super interesting because they, again, it just kind of adds layer and depth and color to this show that they kind of go out of their way to describe, okay, there's the regular population, there's regular people, and we know from watching them so far, Eren himself is a bit of an oddball. For sure he is. Yeah. He has a strange passion, a strange motivation and drive that is unusual. That everybody who meets him is like, what is wrong with this kid? Mikasa is unusual in her devotion to Eren. Yeah. And her strength. Yeah, her combat abilities. And Armin is an oddball because he's this tiny little guy. He's going to go join the most hardened like warriors, mostly because he's got the most like intelligent like brain. Like they actually, Eren and the gang actually fit in here pretty darn well.
Yeah, they fit
true.
amongst all the oddballs perfectly.
And I just love that because again, that I've been a part of a few groups from time to time where I'm like, wow, everybody here is a little like is outside the Overton window,
We're all
the
a bunch
norm.
of weirdos.
So can be a good thing. Anyway, I just love that dynamic. Okay, so moving on.
So they're cleaning.
So they're cleaning, and then Eren ends up in a conversation with Petra.
Yeah.
Well, first Levi like tells him that he has to sleep with chains on
Oh, yeah, he's
In
supposed
the
to sleep in the
basement.
basement.
because that's the rule the higher ups made him agree to, and Aaron's like confused why Levi would listen to anyone.
Levi, we're trying to go beyond the basement
Yeah.
here. We're not trying to go back into
Yeah,
the basement.
dude, haven't you heard of the podcast?
And so that's what
Gosh.
Petra like. She's like, "Why do you look disappointed?" And that's what starts that whole
So,
conversation.
Yeah, so they start a conversation, and then one of the things they start talking about is Levi, and they kind of immediately, maybe this is why they do bit his tongue or whatever. They're trying to make him look human, because that's the first thing she says about Levi.
Yeah.
Is like it's interesting. He's shorter when you meet him in real life, and he's actually like just a human. He's like he's just a guy, but he is really weird. He's really I can't remember how
Because
she
she
describes
says,
him.
"Why do you look disappointed?" And then Aaron's like, "What?" And she goes, "I know he looks shorter in person, doesn't he?" Or something
She
like that.
describes him as
She's
like
spitting
not
darts.
paranoid. She calls him a bunch of like interesting words.
He's kind of aggressive and he's kind of a jerk.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
she's like he's socially,
Socially-
abrupt,
Yeah,
Yeah.
and he's very withdrawn, and yeah, she basically makes him sound like he's a socially awkward nerd who doesn't like to talk to people very much.
He's not just a myth or a legend. He's a real person, and he's got his quirks, he's got his ups, and he's got his
He's
downs.
extremely rigid.
Yeah, and then he hates touching blood.
He doesn't like blood on
Yeah.
him, which means he's kind of in the wrong line of work. But anyway.
yeah, exactly.
Eren says, "Yeah, it's really interesting. I didn't think he'd be so serious all the time." That's
Yeah.
that's something. Like, have you ever seen Levi tell a joke? Have you ever?
You barely see him. He like
doesn't
kind of
smile.
cracks a slight smile when Eren talks about murdering all the Titans. But
Yeah.
aside from that,
That's the only.
he
emotion.
doesn't really show human emotions.
Very stoic.
Yeah, and so then they're saying, "Yeah, well, he was told to do this, and this is why we're here." And he says, "Oh, I didn't really picture Captain Levi taking orders from anybody."
Yeah.
And it begins to kind of reveal this hierarchy.
Yeah, he said he notes he's like I didn't realize he was such a because he took orders to have
A
this place,
rule
like, cleaned.
follower.
And
Yeah.
then, he took orders to have Eren stored in such a way, and he's like following it by the letter to the letter. And he's like, oh, it's interesting that he's that kind of guy.
Yeah, and so
And then she's like, well, he didn't used to be,
he used to be.
from what I
The
hear.
rumors are he was an infamous underground black market rogue
Scoundrel.
scoundrel before Commander Erwin brought him on.
Yeah,
And it's like, well, who's he taking orders from? He takes orders from Commander Erwin.
Yeah.
So there's something
Mhm.
there we know between Erwin and Levi. And Levi's definitely the guy who, like, if he didn't want to do something,
why would he?
no one could make that guy do anything. He could, he could just school everybody. But he's obviously doing all this by choice, and he's obviously motivated for some specific reason. Erwin knows how to motivate Levi.
Yeah.
And he has this connection with him where he can kind of like, hey, you're a loose cannon guy, but I have this way of like bringing you in, giving you the vision, and being a good leader.
Seems
And
like Erwin has taught Levi the value of being meek and like controlling himself,
Yep.
because he
Yeah.
kind of is the embodiment of that. Like he could just destroy everyone. And it's clear that he's also quite bright because of what he does to Eren in the courtroom.
Yeah.
But he doesn't just walk around and,
Yeah,
and also,
take over the world.
It brings back that theme of, okay, who's in charge and who actually has the power, right?
Mhm.
And obviously, we know that Levi is a powerful person and he's willingly submitting to Erwin. So all of a sudden, in my book, this makes my stock for Erwin go up way high.
certainly. Yeah,
Yeah.
one of the most prestigious warriors, somebody who we've only seen like the beginnings of what Levi is
Levi
capable of.
is
By
the
the
baddest
way,
of all the
he
asses.
has
Like,
one
he's
moment. I
just-
think it's season 2, where he shows there. He has a lot of shining
got some
moments.
great
He has
moments.
one in particular that if you do not smile to yourself when he shows up in this one scene, like you don't have a soul. Like you've not been paying attention because it's such a cool moment. Anyway, so yeah, he's such an interesting character. Everybody in the show has a lot of like depth. Has a lot of like there's something going on with them, and I love how now we're finally getting to know Levi for a second. Like one of the first things they tell you is like, "Ooh, mysterious past," which
Mhm.
spoiler alert, they'll dive into that we'll get there eventually.
We'll find out exactly how much of that is true and how much of that is bloviation.
Anyway, what I'm trying to say is that like him being this like top level warrior, for him to say, you know what, I trust Commander Erwin such that whatever he says, that's what we're gonna do.
Yeah, and he says, okay, in this conversation with Petra, she says, that Erwin is probably the one who like supposedly pulled him out of his black market, rogue scoundrel.
She basically
days.
makes it sound like Erwin dragged him into the scouts. I think she actually uses that word. That Erwin dragged him into the scouts.
Mm-hmm.
But now,
and then reformed him.
And now Levi's like this modeled
Straight-laced
soldier, kills everything and like cleans everything perfectly.
Mm-hmm.
And a little bit later, it shows them down, all having dinner together around this table, and Eld is given kind of the plan, and we've seen Erwin talk in a side scene with
just super quick. Let's hit
Okay.
that super quick. So it does cut away. So they have the scene with Petra and Eren, and then Levi actually shows back up, and Petra's like, "Well, I'm sweeping," and Levi's like, "It's not good enough, Eren. Go do it all again.
Redo
Go
everything.
clean everything again." But then
I love that though.
it cuts to Commander Erwin, and
Is that the guy who smells Eren before? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
I just realized
Oh.
that. That's that
Smelly
guy
guy.
with Hange that
his
that's
nose
like-
is incredibly powerful.
when
Which
when
is-
he first meets Eren.
which is ironic, because in the scene we're about to talk about is where they talk about having a sharp nose.
You guys
Anyway,
missed that?
I-
It's because he's the nose guy.
he's the note. I'm so weirded out.
I wasn't sure until just now. So
Yeah, okay.
I didn't miss it.
it's
I just was like,
basically
isn't that the same guy that was smelling Eren?
Erwin, Hange, and the smelling guy, I forget what
Nose
his
guy.
name is, and then
Mitch.
Levi. Mitch. Mickey?
Well, they spell it on the screen. Okay,
It's
all right. It's
Mitch.
another one of those ones. I'm pretty sure the English version of this name is Mitch, in the same way, Jean. They call him Jean.
Jean.
They have like
Jean.
different ways of saying people's
Yeah.
names. Eren is just Eren. But anyway, whatever. But okay, so the scene that they cut to is Erwin and Mitch, because that's easier for me to say.
Mitch.
Talking about the 30-day plan that they're going to go out, and they have like a plan to take a bunch of new recruits. And he's like, Erwin, like, what are you thinking? Like, taking new recruits out in this plan, and they're going to go. They say something super interesting here, actually, that the plan is to go establish a new forward operating base beyond Wall Maria. Which I'm like, wait, so what are you going to put? You're going to put a base out there? You're going to live out there? You're going to keep, like, what are they planning to? Like, is that actually? I don't know. Anyway, we'll watch all that unfold. But I actually missed that line before. So they talk about going and establishing this base, and then he's, it's kind of early to have these rookies out there.
Mhm.
But
brand spanking new recruits
They
out
just graduated
on the front lines.
seems
No military commanders
yeah,
ever doing that.
and a bunch of them already been through combat. They actually meant this. They've already seen Titans and stuff. It seems like okay, this is
They aren't your average
Hurried.
rookies.
They're-
rushed.
Yeah, because they've seen way more combat than probably 2, 3, 4 year veterans have in the past.
oh
So
for sure
Mhm.
than anybody in the garrison.
they
or
are the reason that they're the reason. That's the reason that they're going to push them so quickly is because they've already seen combat. We already know, hey, these guys can hang.
Mm-hmm.
Mikasa's already with the elites right now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They've got some potential, and he says we need to act very quickly in order to show the central kind of
Central powers. yeah.
that hey, we got everything under control. Aaron's good.
And
So they
he's
won't
out. And we have them
interfere
under control.
again.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so they won't try to interfere again anytime soon.
Yeah.
And so that's
And then
when
he's
it's
like,
just yeah, he's like, oh, your nose is as powerful, sharp as ever. So he says, what is he? I'm trying to remember what Mitch says to Erwin. He says something basically to the
yours
effect
is
of like,
sharper than mine.
well, he says the reason what he's inferring here, I'm pretty sure,
You're not telling me everything.
is you're not telling me
Mhm.
everything, you know stuff, which again will be a theme developed with Commander
Erwin
Erwin.
knows
Erwin is
things.
very calculated, and he does. He
Mhm.
just knows stuff. He has an incredible intuition. He's very smart. He's very collected, and he's a great leader. And he certainly knows something here. And he's rushing this through because he's playing politics, and he's playing into what he knows is probably going on behind the scenes.
He kind of admits, like, yeah, you're right. I'll tell you more when things
I'll tell you
get-
more when I can.
when
yeah.
the time comes. Yeah.
So we'll wait for that reveal when it happens. But anyway, so then it cuts back to the Levi squad. Now they're at dinner,
Yeah.
and they're talking about the exact same thing.
Yeah.
The mission that's happening in like a month.
Eld is relaying what he's heard from Erwin and what he's heard from Mitch, and everyone's like, "Wow, an expedition like in a month, like that's not a lot of time." I
Mhm.
got my eviction notice in 2 months. Like this is
Yeah.
even shorter than that. What are they and why? And we're gonna bring Eren out there already? Like this freaking noob? He isn't.
Right.
And,
Can you even control yourself? Do you even know how your
there's a lot of
power
unknowns
works?
with Eren. Why would we risk him so quickly? And then Levi again shows back to that relationship between himself and Erwin. He says, if I know Erwin, he's put a lot more thought into this than any of us have.
Yeah.
So obviously this is a strategic move. It's on purpose. Erwin has a lot of backup plans. He's got a lot of ideas about what's going to happen. So we're going to trust in Erwin, and we're gonna go forth and do this plan.
So then is that when they ask him about how does it work?
Well, yeah, they mentioned the one dude, the ponytail dude mentions, he's like, we never, he kind of says, recaps a little bit. He's like, we've not seen any victories. And he's like, we were certain to have lost while Maria and a new ray of hope shined suddenly appeared in our midst. And it goes quiet and they all look at Eren and he's like, like,
hey, ray of hope.
Yeah.
He's like, are you talking about me?
You talking about me? And then that's when he asks him, he's like, so what's the
deal with your power?
How does that work? Or whatever. And Eren, like, it's interesting because Eren can barely explain it
He's
himself.
as honest as ever.
Yeah.
Yeah, which is really weird because, like, how does he know anything? How did he know what to do? Why?
He's like, basically, I have to activate it by self-harm. And then he's like, how do I even know that?
Yeah. And he's like, that's like all I know.
Yeah, why?
But that's not all he knows.
Because he does say my memories are very fuzzy.
Yeah, they're fuzzy, but
it seems like when he's acted on instinct, he almost knows more than what his brain knows.
yes.
Mm-hmm.
And at least once right before he's about to transform, when he saved Mikasa and Armin from the cannon fire, he has this like revelation about like his dad and stuff. And he has these kind of like fuzzy memories that seem to like come to. And then he has the experience with Armin while he's down. He took a swing at Mikasa, doesn't remember that, but he took a swing at Mikasa and he like goes so crazy that he like hurts himself, puts himself down. Well, he's supposed to be moving the boulder, and that conversation with Armin, and he's in this weird mental state where he's like,
he said, I'm kind of in a trance.
Yeah. And then here,
which
he
is what they're
describes
showing. Yeah.
being in Titan form is kind of like being in a trance.
Yeah.
Which gives legitimacy to this idea, to the caution that they have with him, because they're like, it seems apparently you aren't fully in control of this thing.
You don't even know what's going on. He's like, yeah, you're probably
true.
right. Yeah.
True. You fact check? True.
Fact check, true. Mostly true.
Yes. Anyway, so let's see here. Where was it?
Right when that's happening, all of a sudden, there's...
Oh, yeah. So Levi says, you're going to have real fun when she wants to experiment with you or whatever. And he's like, she?
She might help you figure out how to...
And then the door shakes.
There's a door that is shut and barred.
Yeah,
so
barred,
there's
like,
a bar
locked.
in front of it. And like, someone
You hear,
slams
like,
into it, and it like pops up, and then they like, open it up. And then Hanji-san walks in. She's like, hey, everybody. I apparently just ran into a wall.
And Levi's like, you're early.
Yeah. Really.
Yeah.
Looking as annoyed as always.
Their relationship is definitely one of the funniest. in the show.
They're like siblings,
We
I feel
quickly
like.
find out that Hanji, what she's been doing is she's actually been experimenting with the two Titans that they've captured. And it's her job to experiment and to study and create research, because
She's
they
a
basically
mad scientist.
they don't have any theology about Titans.
Yeah, the information that they have is stuff that they talked about. Like, we've gotten little blips, right? Again, like I said, I live for these parts where they divulge. They give you like a whole section of like, juicy information about the universe that this is taking place in.
Yeah,
we got a chunk of that during cadet training. We've gotten little chunks of that during like some dialogue, whatever with Pixis, exactly. There's some bits of information that come out. In the courtroom, we've gotten and then here we have another one that's about to happen with Hanji, where they kind of like unfold all this stuff. And there's this like, it feels like, I just want to say this: if you're watching this for the first time, it feels too slow. Sometimes you're like, no, like, give me more. Just trust me. This show is gonna be like, all right, a little bit, keep going, and then bam, they're gonna freaking like wallop you with like a giant.
It's almost too much, actually.
Yeah.
Like you're gonna have to rewatch some episodes because they just like
being like,
unfold
I need
everything.
A break.
yeah. We had to.
My brain is smoking.
We had to pause when we first were watching. We had to pause and be like, "What the crap? What are you
And just like
kidding me?"
hold your head and go,
What just happened?
Yeah. We almost had to like. We didn't really have this, but
so like rolling on the floor, sucking our thumbs.
It seemed like we had to pull down like a giant spreadsheet of theories and cross off these because we just found out this, and then this means this now.
Oh
because,
yeah, I had to scrap theories all throughout
Yeah.
the show. Like
You're
they'll be like,
constantly-
"Oh, I think it's this." It's not that.
Constantly scrapping and redeveloping, just like our models right now. With,
Yes,
With the
coronavirus.
coronavirus.
Like, no one knows what the frick
No
is
one
going
knows.
on. So, anyway, so Hange busts in. Levi's here early. It's like a notice ever, and yeah, they start to tell him. Or she's like, "Oh yeah, Eren, like, you know, what are you doing tomorrow? I need your permission to come and like do experiments and stuff with me." And she's like, "Levi, what's his schedule for tomorrow?" He's like, "Cleaning the garden." He's like, "Perfect, it's done.
settled.
It's settled then.
Great.
You're coming with me."
And
Like,
then
Eren makes a fatal mistake.
Eren makes a fatal mistake. He says, "What are these experiments?"
she's like,
"I'm glad you asked."
"You're curious too."
And then Levi's like, don't, no.
Yeah.
And then
Everyone just gets up and
They all,
leaves.
except for Eren, they all get up. And leave. Like, you have that one friend who just talks
he
like
just
too
like
much,
stands up and leaves.
and you have another friend that shows up to the same party and asks you know that the too talkative friend about something they're really interested in. You're
You're
like,
like, "Oh no, I gotta go.
I gotta go make a sandwich, dude. Like, you
Yeah.
guys have fun. Like, I've heard all this a million
Got
times."
my life to live. I can't be hanging out here."
Is it Eld? It's like you should never ask her about her research, and then everyone else gets
Yeah,
up.
like,
after.
and they peace out. Levi gets up. They all walk
It's
away.
been nice
So-
knowing you, kid.
It's frustrating for them because they probably heard it all.
Mm-hmm.
But this is brand new info for
juicy
us.
stuff for
so,
us.
hallelujah. Eren asked this question because I'm curious about this too. And he's like, "Okay, tell me about your experiment." She's like, "I'll tell you." And she begins to like lustily explain all of her experiments so far. And so they've captured these two titans. One was
They
about
captured
7
them-
meter and a 4 meter titan.
Intro. So Eren plugs the wall, and then they kind of have they sort of gloss over this a little bit. They have a little montage where they're killing titans, and they got the cannons and stuff like that. In that kind of chaos, they managed to capture and transport two of them. So
Yeah.
these are the ones. So it seems like it's been some weeks, maybe months, even since Toast, because there's the courtroom deal.
can't imagine
It's
that
been a
long.
while.
Probably, I would assume
weeks.
Long enough that Aaron
A week,
lost track
2
of the
weeks.
days.
Yeah,
Yeah, but he was out and he was in a
in
basement.
a basement, right? So,
So-
during this time
Fair.
period, Hanji's been experimenting on
Experimenting.
these things.
Which is awesome because like we can finally, hopefully, get some real intel, some
Yeah.
scientific answers instead of just conjecture.
Yeah, and so they keep basically have her explain the story of what's going on of the experiments and stuff like that, and they keep cutting back, so we actually get to see. a
She
bunch
like
of this.
starts out telling him how many they've captured over the years and how many she's experimented on.
Yeah, this is not her
just,
first time.
These are her latest two, but she kind of goes over.
Yeah, they found out the whole nape of the neck weakness by trying to decapitate a titan and keep him
Mhm.
alive. And they realized, oh, he was totally fine until they cut the nape of his
Because-
neck.
Yep.
This is how you kill titans. And that probably changed a lot of
Mhm.
things, right? That little one tiny development, a weakness. So then she's, searching for more weaknesses, stabbing titans in the face. And
Yeah, and she
whatnot.
says the first thing she tried was the same thing she tried with her previous titans, but she tried talking to them,
communication.
which is super interesting. They look humanoid, don't they? I mean, that's obvious. That was my thought too. I was like, how do they not know that these titans are? Yeah, they're giant. They're odd, but they very much have human features. And up to this point, we know that they have odd habits. Number one, they don't have a digestive tract. They
Mhm.
digest and then like vomit,
Vomit.
back. That's like a big one, right?
And they don't eat to gain nutrients.
They don't need to eat, period. It seems like
Mhm.
there's a bunch of this stuff that we kind of just, like I said, we got that kind of information during in little bits and pieces. Then we kind of got a couple of episodes where they give you like a bigger chunk, like that cadet training stuff. So we know some things about them, about Titans, that they don't reproduce. There's just such an oddity. They're like zombie-esque in a way.
And then she explains about the sunlight thing.
So
right?
the first thing she does is try to talk to them. They try and bite at her, and she avoids them. She's like, okay.
I love how she walks up to the first one and she's like, "Konnichiwa."
Yeah, exactly. Hello. And then
Good
she's like, so
morning.
they can't communicate. They have no intelligent communication, which that we already knew. They said that in the cadet training part.
But they have vocal cords.
But they have vocal cords. They can vocalize.
And we heard them go rah. And we heard Eren was a titan go rah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
And
they
they're
can't
kind of like
vocalize.
moaning at her a little bit, and they're like,
So then she tells this really weird story about these like people who ate other people. So not Titans, but like cannibals, humans.
Yeah, and this seems to be like some kind of old
Like a
myth
folklore or
handed
something.
like
down.
a fable of
The
sorts.
soldiers in the back, as she's talking to the Titans, she's telling
They're
the
like,
Titans
oh
a
my
story.
gosh, another naming ceremony.
They say it's a naming ceremony. She tells the same story all the time, but where does she learn the story? How old is it? Is it true? But it's
Yeah.
about a clan in the olden days who
I lived in
knows
the
when.
mountains.
How
They
old,
live in
yeah.
the mountains, they hid in caves, and they'd come by and they'd attack passersby. They'd eat their flesh.
Mm-hmm.
And she says that this clan made the same mistake that Titans make. they attacked humankind.
Yeah.
And I'm
attack
like,
humans.
let's go, Hange.
Yeah.
Anybody from any race, from any species, you make the mistake of declaring war on humankind, will overcome, right? We're not the highest in the food chain, but we became the highest in the food chain, right?
Yep.
We don't have the best claws or the best, athletic systems, but guess what?
We got tools.
We'll find a way, right? Will Smith is talking about, aliens invading. Welcome to Earth, son. You attack us, it's on. Like, we'll all band together, we'll find a way, right? And so, these cannibals attacked humankind. That led to them being captured and killed and executed.
Yeah. She said they killed something like 500 people
over the course of 25 years. I thought it was interesting how she was making her own soldiers vomit as she's telling the story because she's going into such a detail
of how
they'd grind people up and turn them into sausage and fry them and make steaks out of their butts. And I mean, she just goes into way too much detail.
Good old Hange, always going into too much detail.
And then she ends it with that line about they made the mistake of attacking humanity.
So she names one Sawny and one Beane, who were named after the
leaders of the clan.
Of the
cannibal
clan. And then she begins to kind of go over more details. So one is that Titans, during nighttime,
they're pretty inactive.
They're inactive. They're sluggish. They almost go like on a even more so subliminal system where after 1 hour, one of them just becomes like pretty much completely passive, and barely even anything's going on.
The other one
wise
takes longer. It takes 3 hours. Without sunlight, but they both do have the same end result there, which is they don't function so well without the sun.
The sun for some sort of energy.
Yeah, so that's just basically what she concludes. She's like, this gives evidence to the theory that they run on sunlight somehow. She talks about, let's see here, sunlight for energy. Blah blah blah. They don't need food or water. She says that they can basically go. Again, we kind of already knew that, but she notices that with these ones, like they don't have to feed them, they don't have to give them any drink. The sunlight seems like that's the only thing they need. She also notes that they don't actually need, despite having vocal organs, they don't need to breathe. Again, sunlight seems to be the only thing that they actually need. And again, the whole point of this is she's testing for weaknesses. She even talks about how, I would like to have them without sunlight for a prolonged period of time to see.
Does that kill them?
She's like, but I don't want to risk killing them yet. There's other experiments I want to do.
Because if you're Western, then your mind immediately goes to, okay, Matrix, black out the sun. Take away the power source.
Yeah.
You can win the war.
Exactly.
And then I was also thinking, Superman, he gets his powers from the sun. So if we can, cast some darkness on them, can we somehow win the war? Will they all shut down? Can we kill them?
Ash.
What can we do?
We cover them in something. So she's trying to find weaknesses. She's probing them. That's the nape of the neck thing they discovered through similar means. So she goes into her next point, which is that she's like, I didn't want to do this part because basically, I love these little guys, and they, I didn't want to have to do this to them, but I tested them to see if they could feel pain. So they show her with a spear stabbing a couple of them, and again, they reacted somewhat differently
in the eye and the heart, and
one of them's more passive.
She's like crying her eyes out while she's doing it.
The one officer is like, "You don't have to scream while you're stabbing him." She's like, "But I do have to scream." Like,
he's in terrible pain.
So weird.
She has like this weird compassion for Titans, and she attributes human qualities to them and is very lighthearted about how she speaks to them. And when they try to eat her, she laughs about it. Like, you almost got me.
Which is this interesting, talk about a haven for oddballs and quirky people. Hange's
she's the cream of the crop.
Yeah, the most odd. It's clearly smart, but also just a little loony. And so this whole time you see her interacting with Titans, and this is like her personality, but she has this, like, they almost eat her, and everyone around her's like, step back and be careful, and she kind of like laughs.
Squad commander, please.
Yeah. So she kind of like laughs it off, and so this is kind of where Eren kind of pipes in. So she's been explaining all this stuff. Oh, wait, did I get to this part? Oh yeah, she says, you almost got me, to one of the Titans, and then Eren he says, how do you do this? How do you deal with Titans in such a lighthearted way? They're our natural enemy.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So she kind of explains. She says, I originally fought the Titans out of hate.
Everybody does.
Yeah, like everybody. And that sounds like Eren. Because they've
killed their family and their friends and everything.
And she even says, I've watched friend after friend die in their jaws for many years.
Mm-hmm. So that's her original reasoning. And this is such a weird train of thought that she has. But
then one
apparently-
day when I was hacking the head off of a
yeah,
Titan,
apparently her revelation comes when she's decapitated a Titan and she kicks its decapitated head, the severed head. And she notices that the head itself is it's very lightweight, much lighter than it should be. And then she notices the same thing on a different Titan with the severed limb. She takes the arm off, and like for how big it was,
she just
was-
picks it up. Like it's
picks it up like it's no problem. I mean, you think if this is
As
like a
big as
human
her.
muscle or something, it would just be like really dense and like really heavy. Which that's the impression we've gotten from the Titans too, is that they're big and heavy. They
I mean, they make the ground rumble for Pete's sake.
And they can knock kick walls
Kick
in.
wall-
They
yeah.
can do all sorts of things.
Destroy buildings and
But
rip
she
people in
says-
half.
But I'm told that you summon your entire body out of nowhere.
yeah. She mentioned, she's like, it shouldn't be possible that creatures this large walk bipedally like humans do.
Yeah.
They shouldn't even be able to do it in the first place. And I'm told, when your Titan appeared, it came out of like nowhere.
Yeah, when Eren summoned the Titan, bit his thumb, and then like stopped the cannonball, it appeared out of nowhere.
In an instant.
And then think about where the
and
colossal
lightning
Titan.
too,
He seems to appear out of nowhere as well.
and vanishes.
So
Leaves
what's
only
going on
footprints
with
behind.
those?
Yeah.
And she says, "It's my theory that Titans aren't as they appear to be." Okay, Hanji, I like where you're going with this, but where exactly you're going?
Yeah.
She kind of doesn't really let you find the end of that thought.
No, she doesn't
and then
fully
she goes,
explain
"It might be completely crazy and totally a waste of my time,
Yeah. Her line, the
but I'm not going
translation-
to give up." Well, on what?
the way they translate her line here is how they appear to us is nothing like what they really are, which is such an interesting. I mean, there's like kind of
Okay.
almost an esoteric thing to say.
Yeah, and she doesn't explain what she even means by that statement in the least bit.
Just that there's something about them that's maybe is it an
Isn't
illusion?
what they seem.
Is it?
I think she's trying to say that there's more than meets the eye.
Yeah, for sure.
Transformers.
But
But there's something hidden beneath the surface. There's more going on here than just giant zombies, is what she's trying to say.
Yeah.
And Eren's like, okay. And she says, yeah, so because of that, I'm no longer going to just kind of fight them out of hate.
Yep.
I'm
We've
gonna-
tried that. We've tried taking the offensive approach where you fight them just out of the hate.
Yeah, and we haven't gotten anywhere. And so I'm going to pick a different approach, even if it's hard. And so she's actually like treating them almost not necessarily like she loves them, but like kindly and like they're
like
dumb
I said,
animals.
Yeah.
she has compassion for them a
Yeah.
little bit, and she like hates when she talks about accidentally killing those two. She says it with such regret and
She's
remorse,
like sad, yeah.
they didn't deserve to die that way. and
Yeah. And she
she
cries about how she's been torturing them,
cares.
trying to find their pain thresholds. And
It's like she
whatnot.
knows they're people, but she doesn't really, or does
Well,
she?
she
Like
treats them
she
as though
acts
there's
like they're people, but she
a
has to
humanness to them, yeah.
experiment
It's
on
like
them.
that. It's like what's that called?
Stockholm syndrome.
No,
in
not-
reverse.
When you
she falls
when
in love
you
with her
attribute-
captive.
Captain.
when you attribute human characteristics to non-human things.
Anthropomorphism, right?
Is that what it is?
Pretty sure.
That's why
It's
people
the
dress
human
their dogs in
personification.
clothing.
Right.
Okay.
You treat your dog. Oh, she just was feeling goofy.
She's my
you don't know what the
baby.
dog was feeling.
It was
You
she's a
can't
dog.
say
Dogs
she
don't
was
have human
She
feelings.
was not feeling the way a human
They
feels.
just wanna
She
eat
probably
and
had a
poop
primal
and
urge
sleep.
and wanted to go freaking pee. Like,
Yeah,
dogs don't have the same psychology as humans, and yet we give them all the time. Oh,
we project our.
she's just been grumpy this
humanness on
morning.
them.
I even
like,
do it with my plants. I'm like, "Oh, you look sad. I need to water you." Like,
yeah, it's a plant. It doesn't feel
it doesn't
the same
have
way.
emotions
And
or
so-
consciousness.
She's personifying these titans like they're humans, even though they're giant murderous machines. And she's like, I'm gonna try to find a better way to kind of advance. And at the same time, she's also trying to find the stats. She's not just being emotional. She's saying, okay, where are the thresholds? How many hours do they go before they have sunlight deprivation? What's their regeneration like? You know, all these things. And so it's really interesting. And
Yeah,
even though she's weird, I'm on board with the Hanji train.
yeah, same.
Let's go, Hanji.
Same. She's great. And
She's
I-
kind of endearing in a
honestly,
strange
if
way.
it was me, like I really was hoping that at the end of this episode, that you watch this episode. So I'm not spoiling. At the end of the episode, the two Titans come up dead. Somebody's killed them,
Well, they interrupt their
which makes me sad. But
all-nighter.
while I was watching this, I was like, okay. But did you try feeding them something other than humans? Have you tried poisoning them? Like, there's so many other things I would try to
Yeah.
figure out weaknesses. Like I feel like there's
Besides
like a million
just
and
stabbing them in the heart or the
But
eye.
it's
Have you
sucks
tried
because-
removing? Have you tried opening them up and looking at their like inner organs and messing with those? Like
and we
have you
know
tried
they
doing
heal.
surgeries?
Do they heal the same rate if they're like cut, deeper wound, just like humans, or is a lighter wound? If you
Have
make
you-
10 cuts at once, do all of them heal at the exact same moment, or do some heal?
Have
take
you
priority?
held a metal plate above the steam that they produce, and is that water? Like, what is that stuff? Like, is it
Yeah.
smoke? Like,
Yeah.
anyway, I would have done more myself.
Well, we all. She wanted to do a lot more.
Yeah.
And so they're so vital to have these scientific things we can experiment on and actually get some finally answers.
Yeah, it seems like she had just begun her process.
Yeah, and she's stoked for the next day. We're gonna do all these experiments, especially with Eren,
With
having
Eren's
this like
help.
Titan power
Yeah.
and all this stuff. And right when they're talking, someone runs in and says, "Hange, I regret to inform you that both the Titans have been killed.
She
Have
loses her
been
crap.
killed. They have been killed. They didn't just die. The Titans don't just die.
They've been murdered
They've been murdered. Somebody came and killed them. Well,
in the dead of night.
weren't no Titan. Somebody who used them slipped past the guard, which means they probably used ODM gear. That means there's
Mhm.
somebody in the scouts, the military police, or the regiment.
They had to have known that the Titans were captured. They had to
yes.
have known where they were stored.
Yep.
They had to have known how to kill them, so they have to go to the nape of the neck. They would have had the ability to kill them, and they had ODM gear, so that
And
kind of
they-
narrows it down.
And they obviously don't want people to get answers.
Somebody has an interest in making sure these experiments stop.
It is very suspicious that this happens the night before Eren is supposed to go help her.
Yeah. And right as they run out there,
It's-
everyone's like, "What? How could this happen?"
The first night that he comes to the base is when they mysteriously turn up dead.
Yeah.
Like,
everyone's kind of freaked out. Everyone's scared. And
Hange's screaming her brains out.
because she's pissed off and sad and her friends die basically. And Levi's like, "Come on, like Eren's got a hood up because no one should really know that he's there.
Yeah. He's trying to stay.
He's the target of
incognito.
interest." And so Levi's like, "Come on." And right when Eren's like, "How could this happen?" We see someone come around his shoulder and says, "Who do you think the real enemy is?" You're like, "What?" Turn around.
Huh?
And it's Commander Erwin, and he's right there. And he's like, "I'm sorry,
That was a weird question to
to
ask you, and then he
to
just
ask.
walks off.
See you later." After I just kind of made your like mind, and you're like, "Hey, somebody in our ranks killed that Titan and
Yeah.
didn't want us to know about it."
Yeah. So I'm sure you're picking up on this. And I love this part of the story. The fact that it's complicated. It's not just that there's Titans out there and we got to find a way to beat these Titans. It's that there's Titans out there and that some of them seem to be dangerous. And now we assume that some of them have a special power similar to Eren's where they can become Titans temporarily. Like, and then on the interior, there seem to be lots of conspiracy and lots of like corruption at the various levels of the government. Like, it's not so straightforward. It's like good guys versus bad guys, like humanity versus Titans. There's more to the story. There's more going on.
Nuance.
And
They're
there's
definitely
nuance to it.
setting you up for season 2.
And
for sure.
yes, they very much are. And Erwin knows this and Erwin's asking the right questions. Like you want to follow the smart people in this show. It's kind of like there's times in real life, if you were stuck in the wilderness, like you would be smart to find the person who's confident and calm and knows stuff about the wilderness. Like
Using
you would be
their
smart to follow
brain
them
still.
around. Don't follow the people who are the most panicked or the people who think they have the
Have the
best
loudest
ideas.
voice.
The people who are like, yeah, well, I went to college. Like follow somebody who's like, yeah, I go camping all the time. I actually know stuff about, botany and whatnot. Like you want to follow the smart people. That's what you want to do in this show. Fortunately, our main characters have enough sense to do stuff like that, so that's why we kind of get to track the way that we do. But Erwin's onto something, and it's a profound question to be asking. Okay, well, who is or what is
What
the
do
enemy?
you think their enemy is?
What do you think the enemy is here? And that is like the question of the ages for the whole show. So anyway, that's the end. Cue to be continued / end credits.
/ spoiler section.
And
Epson.
cue the spoiler section. There's some good ones in this episode. There's a bunch of stuff I want to talk about.
Alert.
So you have got like 5 seconds to pull your phone out, go to youtube.com/beyondthebasementpodcast and subscribe.
Please.
Find us on Facebook, facebook.com/beyondthebasementpodcast. You can also email us at beyondthebasementpodcast@gmail.com. Okay, so go do all of that. And now that you're doing that and you have your phone in your hands, now you should also hit the pause button if you
This
have
is your
not,
first time through.
if you have not watched the show through, if you're tracking with the podcast and
We're
the show at
going
the
to
same
spill
time,
the tea.
because we're getting to the spoiler sections in approximately 3, 2, 1. Spoilers are coming.
It's all the spoilers.
Pete doesn't have a sweater to take off and throw on the floor this time.
Too hot. I'll just
Okay. You throw your hat off or something?
Turn his hat
backwards?
around.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, there we go. All right.
let's go.
All right. So
The Corona haircut is out.
oh, dude, we're all.
I'm turning
We're
into
all
my
cool.
15-year-old self right
Yeah.
now.
Dude, I'm gonna
Just
start
don't understand
listening.
me.
I'm gonna start listening to some emo music pretty quick.
Let's go.
Hey, I already have black
strapping.
fingernails, so.
So our first spoiler is a sad one, as we've noted many times with Marco, that it is very sad that his death was imminent. Marco, and that his death was caused by people that you eventually come to hate, Reiner and Bertold and the gang. This one is sad because they show these elite scouts with all these kills, and I'm not sure if 100% of them.
Almost.
Most of them
I'm pretty
are
sure.
gonna die.
The first one they showed is the dude. What's his name?
Eld.
They show him. And I'm like, oh, that's right. I remember when he dies. They go
all
through the
die.
list. I was like, oh yeah, this guy dies. Oh yeah, she dies. I'm like, oh, yeah.
And even Mitch, the Beast Titan, kills him.
Yeah.
And I was so sad
They
because
all
he was awesome.
freaking
He
die.
was rad, and he friggin' yeah.
Which again, what a show that sets you up and lets you like.
I feel bad for
Get
Levi. Like
attached to
his whole
characters.
squad is gonna get
Yeah.
murdered. Like,
And they're the best.
And
That's
they're the
sucky part
elite
this whole
of the
thing.
elite.
Yes,
But
exactly.
to be
They're
honest,
the best ones.
Levi is going to murder just about everybody else.
it's true.
True.
He gets his vengeance.
But even
As he just,
Commander
like-
Irwin,
Domino kills all the Titans.
you love these people and they all die, and it sucks because in this show it seems like the good ones die.
Yeah.
And they do. And so by the time, so we're, currently not into season 4 yet. That's not been released. And it's hard going into season 4 thinking like
Everybody's
the number
gonna
of
die.
people that have ability and will and skill to end this thing seems like it is dwindling because this has been a rough war.
It's a dang good thing they had a good recruitment class.
Yeah, they had a pretty stacked.
Yeah. Jean
Draft,
and
so to
Eren
speak.
And Mikasa and Armin.
I have to
and-
say though, like with how often beloved characters just get murdered in this show, I'm a little scared to go into the next season because I'm like,
Yeah, me too.
who's going to get it
Yeah,
next?
who's next?
John and
But at the
Astoria,
same
like
time,
all of them. Are we
I'm
gonna?
also stoked because we got some Titans on our side now. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, Armin as the Colossal Titan,
I just want him to get those memories, man. I want him to get those memories.
who even knows?
Speaking of those memories, I didn't remember if this was a spoiler or not, so I didn't say it.
Okay.
But remember when Eren was like, I don't even know how my power works. And in the flashback somewhere, his dad says, like, when you don't remember what to do, trust in the memories of how to
Let
use
their
your power.
memories guide
Let
you.
their memories
memories
guide
guide
you,
you.
right? And remember that there's something going on with the time, right? Because
There's like a prophetic
Eren has
ability
having
of
future memories.
future memories.
a foresight. And so the owl had, foresight. Eren has foresight. And the beginning of Attack on Titan is called To You 2,000 Years in the Future. What's his name? Eren Yeager, not Eren Yeager, Grisha Yeager
Eren's dad.
wrote a letter to Eren, but it's not 2,000 years in the future.
It's like 10,
It's
13
like,
years.
yeah, 10, and maybe the civilizations may even be like, I don't know, 100 years apart, right? But
don't know.
not that much. So in terms of technology and development or whatever. But who is this 2,000 years in the future? Is Eren having some kind of like foresight where he's writing this down and he's knowing that 2,000 years later, or I don't know. Or
is
is
the
like,
whole show taking place as a letter
In the
about the
past?
past? Like,
or are they trying to say like, hey, this is what really happened 2,000 years ago in humankind. It's actually canon, and this is who knows. But it's just interesting, and I thought that was something we should probably bring up.
yeah, what the heck? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, as far as like the timeline, because there's definitely, it's typical anime to be like, all right, here's what's happening, and then they do lots of flashbacks. Could the whole thing be like a big
Flashback.
I'm starting to
Flashback.
think, I've been thinking that for a while now. Like this whole show is just one
Some
big.
recounting of the
Interesting.
past.
The other thing is, Eren's got all those weird, wacky memories he can't seem to always remember. And I don't know if that's because, A, he has the founding Titan and the attack Titan, and things get mixed up there. B, that's just how Titans work when you eat somebody.
Yeah, I don't think he's harnessed it.
Or
It could just-
C, is it because that he's not a royal Titan and he ate a royal Titan? Or D, is it because his dad gave him that like messed up memory thing? how much of that is to blame for him not knowing all of the memories? Because it seems like Ymir didn't know everything when she was in, her form.
Yeah, she was definitely in kind of a trance. She describes it as like a dream.
Yeah.
Long, like 70-year dream.
But the problem is, we don't know if she has any memories of the person she ate. And we don't have another Titan to compare Eren's experience with. Is it only just Eren, or is there just like
and
the way?
whole Historia thing too, when she touches Eren, she kind of gets like some memory stuff. Like,
yeah.
they have got to play into that because that is.
They have to explain that because she's not a Titan.
No, but she's got the royal blood. So my question is...
So what the heck, though?
My question is, we're going to have...
Well, how did Eren have future memories before he even got injected with the Titan serum in the first place?
Exactly.
Well,
what the heck?
So my question is, now that we have a control, we have Eren. So we have his experience to go off of, and we can scientifically compare Armin's experience side by side. We've got two bros. We can say, hey, do you freaking know what's going on, Armin? Do you have memories? And he'll be like, heck yeah, I do.
Plus, Armin is way smarter than Eren, let's be honest.
Yeah. But if he's like, heck yeah, then we're like, okay, Eren, you're all jacked up because of that memory serum and you not being a royal blood and you having two Titans floating around in your brain. And he'll be like, oh, okay. But Armin gives some answers. If Armin's like, no, it's all fuzzy, then we know that's just how it is for a while. Go touch Historia and get some of those memories back so you can figure out what the crap is going on. Because I want to know what Bertolt and Reiner know. So bad. Yeah, did LD always have those powers, or did Marley steal those powers? Like, we got to know these things.
What if Mikasa and Eren get together while he has his Titan abilities?
Mm-hmm.
Make a baby.
Well,
remember, Eren is the product of a Titan.
Yeah, exactly.
He is. And she's an Ackerman.
She's an Ackerman and she's Asian. She has those two bloodlines plus his bloodline. And then what if their kid marries Historia and then has the royal bloodline?
Interesting.
This is the future, and we are.
That was the other thought that I had too. Like, this is the Earth's future. This whole story is 2,000 years from now. Like,
interesting.
So it's the opposite of Star Wars.
Yeah.
A long, long time from now.
In a galaxy.
In an Earth very close to ours.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's pretty interesting.
That's definitely possible.
Okay, so my next little spoiler part that I wanted to hit was she talks about the cannibals and so on, and this is all conjecture, but like this like little history lesson she has, like, where the heck is this a history from beyond the walls even?
Yeah.
Before the Titans?
Yeah, what mountains are there? There aren't mountains inside
She
of
doesn't
that.
talk like it's folklore. I said, I was like, oh, it could be like folklore, but she talks about it as though, like, well, there's a time frame, 25 years, 500 victims.
Yeah, this sounds like a story.
This has to be a story from outside the wall,
but
because
how did it get passed
people
down?
in the mountains,
with their memories
where did
getting
it come
wiped.
from?
The other thing too is
that's a really good point. Everybody's memory, except the Ackermans. Did it come from the Ackermans?
Did it come from the Ackermans, or did somebody in royalty pass it down?
I don't know.
And also, like, she says the story right here. We never hear anything about it ever again.
It's just that's what makes me think it's not actually important.
Yeah, and
it's just a side thing.
I think it was smart for Isami to be like, "Hey, I'm Hange, and in real life, I would tell you everything I know, even the bits that aren't actually true. We just think they're true." And so she's spitting out, "Here's a fact. Titans, need sunlight to give energy. Here's a fact. Titans, disappear into nothing. Here's what we think. Some, cannibals killed a bunch of people.
Yeah.
But you spit it all out the same because you don't know actually what's true or not.
Yeah. It's hard to tell fact from fiction with stuff like that. It's more like legend or something than it is.
Yeah.
Like true history. So while we're on Hange, so we were talking about this. This is this is blowing my mind right now. So she points out that you mentioned this, I think, before. So our buddy Steven has a theory about the walls, which is that the founding Titan like corralled a bunch of Titans and maybe even stacked them. And that's what the walls are made out of, is something like that. And so the theory is, or my theory off of that is based off this episode, which is that when the Titans get covered, they become passive. They become docile.
Yeah.
They basically go into stasis.
When there's a hole in the wall and we see a Titan face, and the priest guy says, "Cover that hole," because you cover it right away because and you see specifically sunlight shining onto like an eyeball.
That's a particularly powerful one.
How does he know that? There's a whole the priesthood thing never really gets. There's not a good explanation for that so far.
No.
But my theory is that, well, yeah, the walls are made out of titans, and titans don't die. They don't need food and water. They don't even need to breathe. All they need is sunlight, and you have walls that are covering them in complete darkness. So they are totally idle and totally passive.
There's just a bunch of titans inside there. And then I was bringing up the fact that when we see Wall Rose, Maria, and Cena, there's like portraits of 3 different females. They look very different. They have different hairstyles.
What are they, queens?
Were those
Royalty?
queens
Different
that
versions
got
of
trapped
Ymir.
inside the walls? Is that, yeah, different versions of Ymir? Like, where did those even come from when the founding titan created the walls? Interesting stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Another spoiler-ish moment. Levi, they hinted his story. He was a rogue. He was, dude. He freaking fought in the underground, and it's like,
Yeah.
lost his mom was like a freaking like prostitute, and like he like has like the roughest.
Kenny!
Yeah, and how does he get to in the scouts? Season 2, we get Kenny, dude. That's how he gets to freaking. That's how he knows stuff about that's how he knows stuff about anything.
Yeah.
Basically, it's
Yeah.
just Kenny. Which, talk about information dump. That
Oh my
episode when
gosh.
Kenny is like dying and he finally just like
so
spills all the
stoked.
beans. I'm like,
I'm so stoked to get back.
That
to
I
was
know,
one of the
we
episodes
watched
where I
that.
just was like, what?
I think I've only watched that one time, and that was a mistake. I need to go back
Yeah,
and like
I'm
really
very
spend
3
some
more
time in that.
times.
There's a lot there, and now that I feel like now that we've kind of gone all the way through season 3, now we're going back through. I feel like we're gonna really get more to build on.
Yeah. My last spoiler on the list here is when she's stabbing them, and she's like, the Titans have different like qualities to them. Like one of them takes 2 or 3 hours to become docile. The other one takes an hour.
One's more
One of them,
reserved.
one of them
One's
has a more
more
introverted
extrovert, yeah.
personality. It's so interesting to me because I'm like, well, we now know that these are people.
Mhm.
Yeah.
It's just like Soylent. It's the Soylent Green spoiler. If you've never seen that movie, I'm spoiling it, but everybody does. Soylent Green, old movie from the late 60s, I think, 70s. The punchline of the whole movie is Soylent Green is this food they're feeding everybody, and Soylent Green is people. I'm like, Titans are people. It's just like,
Yeah.
anyway.
That's why they have different personalities, because they're different.
They are
different
indeed
people.
different humans
That's
that are
why
in
they're
there.
different shapes
why
and
they look different.
sizes.
It explains all their
The
differences.
idea that the little ones are kids really bothers me.
Yes,
now.
that scares the crap out of
Yeah.
me.
But also, it really gives credence to what Hanji's mindset is in fighting them. Is
They are not-
have compassion.
Yeah.
They're not choosing to do this.
They
No
are
one
not
wanted
as
to
they
become
appear.
a freaking dumb titan.
Mindless.
They're
Yeah.
something
They were
different.
a human who was captured by the freaking Marlians. They were used and abused, and then they were injected and shoved over the wall. And now they're this, guard dog essentially, without them wanting to be, and they don't have any control over that. So even though you may hate them because they're doing it, they don't have any control over that. So we almost have to have that compassion and be like,
Yeah.
okay, you're a
And
human.
they-
It's
I'm
pretty
sorry.
monstrous.
You're my
They're
brother.
basically
They are
using
a-
Titans to control the Eldians so that they won't leave their
And they're
island.
like oppressed. Remember, they're like Jews back
Yeah.
in Marley. Like they are like an oppressed people in like a concentration camp. Well,
they have
they're in
they have to wear a
ghetto.
certain thing on if
Yeah.
they're going to go
Yeah, they're
outside
armband,
of
yeah. They're in
of-
like a
their allowed area.
they're in like a little ghetto, and these people have like suffered, and then they're like they break the rules and they send them out and freaking turn them into zombies and send them out as unintentional
Yeah.
like guard dogs.
So yeah, it's Eren wants to kill the Titans, but really he doesn't. He doesn't even know what he wants.
Yeah.
What he wants to do is he wants to kill people who made the Titans. He wants to kill the Marlians. And
Wants life outside the walls.
and Hanji wants to study them. She wants to set free her brothers, basically, and sisters, which that's something I have a question about is, are they ever going to be able to find a way to turn dumb Titans
Back into people
humans?
without them eating
I
a Titan
sure freaking
shifter.
hope so.
I do too.
I
I mean, I would
really
assume
hope
that
if
that's the
anybody
case,
could
but-
figure it out, it would be Hanji. I feel like Hanji and Armin together.
But I can see
Hanji,
this-
Armin, and Eren. Yeah.
But I can also see this show being tragic enough that
That
they're a lost cause
Yeah.
and there's nothing they can do, and that they have to like put them out of their misery or something. I don't know. Last spoiler is Erwin's line. What do you think the enemy is? Erwin is
What it?
suspicious. I'm pretty sure, as he should be. They've already hinted at this, that there are perhaps other Titan shifting people in their midst
Mm-hmm.
right then. And so when
Levi already said.
Levi, what does he say? What's his line?
We've already surmised that the Colossal Titan and the Armored Titan are just like
Or
you.
just like you, that's right.
Mhm.
And
so
then,
where are they?
And then in this episode, he talks about, Erwin's got a plan. He's thought this through more than we have. And Erwin telling Mitch is like, Yeah, well, you're pretty smart, and I'll tell you the whole plan basically when the time comes. It seems to me once things pan out is that the whole thing that happens with Annie when they actually do the expedition, how the expedition starts to go, is pretty much Erwin's plan. He is actually trying to draw out the enemies inside their own ranks. He's intentionally trying to do that, which he does successfully. He draws Annie out. He's intentionally trying to do that because remember, even when they set the whole thing up, they have Eren. They tell everyone Eren's in one spot, but he's not. He's actually in a different group. And they have them all spread apart. And he has this whole thing set up. They have the capture devices to capture Annie, to capture the Titans and stuff like that. He's got this whole thing very well thought through ahead of time. And so I'm pretty sure he, when he asks Eren that, he almost is like,
how much do you know yet?
Yeah. What do you...
Where's your mind at? Kid?
Have you caught on? He's like, oh, okay, yeah, sorry, weird question. Sorry, don't worry about it. Walks away.
Yeah. Let me just get your mind.
Armin would have picked up on it.
Let me get those creative juices flowing in your head.
Hit me.
What are you thinking, bro?
Oh, I thought you were literally
This might be
this
might be massively grasping at straws here, but I just thought it was interesting, possible foreshadowing that we see Hange stabbing the Titan in the eye.
Oh, yeah.
And then she loses her eye.
Eye for an eye.
Mm-hmm.
The whole world goes blind.
Dang. Okay, well, I think that about does it for Les Spoilers.
Also,
thanks
hi,
for joining
Paul.
us. Yeah, hey, Paul.
Okay.
Love you, dude. You the best.
You
can join us. We're in the recording right now, but we will stream for a little bit after we finish the show. For those of you who are listening and watching, thank you once again. Send us email, visit us on Facebook and YouTube. And if you are enjoying the show, leave us a 5-star review.
Please.
On Apple Podcasts and on Spotify in particular. This would be helpful, or just wherever you are listening to podcasts. That would be wonderful. Anyway, we love you guys. Email us. We'll see you next time. Thanks again for watching and listening. If you're enjoying the show, you can leave us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify. If you're really loving it and you want some extra cool content, you can join our Patreon page over at patreon.com/beyondthebasementpodcast. Check the show notes or our social media pages for links to some really rad Attack on Titan merch. All right, guys. See you next time.